All right, check me out, family. You know I had to come through real quick. I cannot give Islam a break. Hell no. Give all praises to the mighty Yahweh, of course. And we see here Islam being falsehood, false doctrine. Let's move this shit back a little bit. Let me see. Is this better? Okay, I think so. So we're going to go with this false doctrines in Islam. And we're going to start with the first one being adultery. Now, in adultery in Islam, it says, let no man guilty of adultery or fornication marry, but a woman similar guilty or unbeliever. Let's stop right there real quick. This is a man that's guilty of adultery. What happens when you're guilty of adultery? You get put to death, but not according to the Quran. This, as we see here, let no man guilty of adultery or fornication marry, but a woman similarly guilty or unbeliever. Nor let any but such a man or unbeliever marry such a woman to the believer. Such a thing is forbidden. So marry such a woman. What does it mean, such a woman? A woman that is guilty of adultery. But what do we see here? And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. So we have distinct differences in the Quran, but they just let you go and marry another person that did that sin. I wonder what kind of sense that makes, but it must make something in the Islamic Quran. Let's continue. Divorce. Right here, the Quran says, so if a husband divorces his wife, he cannot after that remarry her until after she has married another husband and he has divorced her. In that case, there is no blame on either one of them if they reunite, provided they feel that they can keep in the limits of the deity. Okay. So see what it's saying in the Quran. He cannot remarry after he cannot remarry her. What does it say? Until after she has married another husband. So if they get a divorce, then months later, they made a mistake, they want to come back together. He cannot do that until she's laid and been with another man, consummated that marriage, had another man with her. But according to Deuteronomy, what does it say? Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4. Of course, that's a lie. The Quran says you have to get with another man. How much sense does that make for my Islamic family out there? It does not make. Let's continue this though. If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him because he finds something indecent about her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her out of his house. And then after that, she leaves his house and becomes a wife of another man. And the second husband dislikes her and writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house, the second husband now. Or if he dies, then her first husband who divorced her is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. That will be detestable in the eyes of Yah. Do not bring sin upon the land. I think this one's kind of messed up, this translation. But it says clearly, you cannot marry her again. You cannot marry her again, okay? But the Quran says she has to get with somebody in order for you to marry her again. So we see some, of course, distinctions here. That's why we talk about the Quran like a dog. Here we go, beat your wife. This is good for all like the feminists and things of that nature. They love to see in this shit. And when you talk about this, some of them defend it by saying with a little stick. They say you hit them with a little stick. I've heard somebody, my personal life, said. Not only that, you know, my teacher, my moray, when they were on in a debate, one of them said that shit. So I've heard it differently. Where, let's read this: men are protectors and maintainers of women, because the deity has given one more in strength than the other. And because they support them from their means, therefore the righteous women are devoutly obedient and guarding in abstinence which the deity would have them guard. As to those women whose part you fear disloyalty, ill conduct, admonish them. Next, refuse to share your bed, and last, beat them. Now it says lightly, but if they return obedience, seek not against the means, for the deity is most high and great. This is deity right here. I don't even say none of that. But as you can see here, it says beat them. Now, parentheses is lightly. Parentheses is added. It's not the original text, it's added. But not only that, how do you beat somebody lightly? That's like you playing. Does the Quran tell you to play with them? I mean, it don't even make sense. How do you beat someone lightly? Let me continue. Camel eating. Camel eating. A clear distinction we have right here. These shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud or them that divide the hoof as the camel. Simple. But look, Quran 22 and 36, the sacrificial camels we have made for you as among the symbol. They are already talking about sacrificial. They are about to eat and watch from the deity. In them is much good for you. Then pronounce the name of the deity over them as they line up. When ye are down on your sides, eat ye thereof and feed such as live in the contentment and such as beg with due humility. Thus we have made the animals subject to you that ye may be grateful. Right here, we're seeing that they're eating camels, which is contrary to the Torah, but it's so many different things that are contrary to the Torah and the Quran that it's easy to beat up on the Quran. And that's why it's good to know the Almighty's book. Because when you know the book, then you can read these things that are blatantly, and believe me, there's a lot more. It was it's an evil book to turn you from the commandments. All right. But just like the New Testament, let's continue. To drink or not to drink. All right. It says drinking is evil in two different places. Oh, you who believe, intoxicants, gambling, and all the abomination of Satan's handiwork. And talk about alcohol. So avoid it. You know what I mean? So you see this right here, but look, check out the rivers of wine. You all can always pause this. I want to read everything. But pause it live and check it out. But right here, the description of paradise have been promised is that in it are rivers of water, the taste and smell of which are not changed. Rivers of milk, of which the taste never changes. Rivers of wine, delicious to those who drink, and rivers of clarified honey, clear and pure, wherein for them is every kind of fruit, and forgiveness from their deity. So there's definitely rivers of wine in their non-alcoholic. I'm sure they would say it's non-alcoholic wine. You know, let's continue. Easy lie right here. All food was lawful to the children of Israel, except what Israel made unlawful for himself before the Torah was revealed. So they're saying before we got the law that came from Moses, all food was lawful. We can see that with Noah. We had the clean and the unclean beast, man. You know, this is ridiculous. So we can continue. This is another lie in the Quran, just by the way. 393 is right there. We can continue. Are Christians your friends or are Christians your enemies? Well, in the same chapter 5, they are both. They are both. Okay. So Christians are your friends right here. What? Oh, you who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians as allies. They are in fact allies of one another. Whoever is an ally to them among you, then indeed he is one of them. Indeed, the deity guides not the wrongdoing people. Jews and Christians, wrongdoing people. But if you go to verse 82, it says the Christians are your friends. It says, strongest among men in enmity to be believers without strongest among men in enmity, which means opposition to the believers, without found the Jews and the pagans. So now they're putting Jews and pagans together. And the nearest among them in love to the believers, without found those who say, We are Christians. The nearest in love are the Christians. So they the enemies and they whatever. It's confusion, but that's what you get when you have paganism. I mean, I guess they want to say it's not paganism. We know what it is. Let's continue. All these places they gave Moses the book. This is what woke up one of my other brothers. I believe this is what Alicia said. That was one of the things that woke him up about it. But I believe he was beating up that book anyway. But all these places it says they gave Moses the book, Musa the book, Moses. So you can all check this out. You can pause it. Okay, this right here is more for the advanced class when it says that in the Quran that Satan was the snake in the garden, but Satan wasn't a snake. But that, and they also call it says the devil because it didn't even say it's the devil. All right, but you know that's getting a little deeper, especially people who believe in the New Testament. That's going to really confuse them. Let's continue. Okay, right here, the deity does not have a son, so I should put ALLAH right here. I need to do that, but the Dala don't have a son. I never saying that false deity's name. And they say, "Oh, most beneficent deity has begotten a son or children. Glory to him." They, whom they call the children of deity, and all these different people are but honored slaves. They are not his son, but they are nothing but honored slaves. Let's continue though. To him who is due the primal origins of the heavens and the earth. How can he have a son when he has no consort? He created all things. He has full knowledge of all things. How could he have a son? And that's what the Quran is telling you. How can he have a son? I don't even know why you guys think that. I don't understand it. Let's continue. Furthermore, but I know the Israel's his son. And I know that he called King David in the book of Psalms 80 what is that? 89. He called King David his firstborn. So, you know, I know who the son is, but the Quran says he doesn't have a son. This is what I'm trying to show you. The Quran says he does not have a son. So even for the Christians who say that Christ is his son, well, the Quran says he does not have a son. Let me see. Furthermore, that he may warn those who say the deity have begotten a son. No knowledge have they such a thing, nor have their fathers. It is a grievous thing that you issue from their mouths as a saying. What they say is nothing but falsehood. Okay, I don't know how much. Let me see how much I want to rag on Islam because I might not. Man, I'm gonna rag on Islam because I fuck that. Wash with dirt. This is what they do. They cannot find water. They wash with dirt. This is the Quran. Oh, you who believe, when you prepare for prayer, wash your faces and your hands and arms to the elbow. Rub your head with water and wash your feet to the ankles. And if you are in a state of ceremonial impurity, bathe your whole body. But if you are ill or on a journey and one of you coming from offices of nature. So what is this saying, man? All these different things, man. So this is talking about cleaning, right? Ceremonial impurity. You may have just sacrificed something, became impure. You killed some, you know what I mean, whatever. Bathe your whole body. But if you are ill or on a journey, or one from you comes from offices of nature, I mean, you just got done taking a, you know, pee or number one or two, or you have been in contact with women. So what does that mean? If you had sex and you find no water, then take for yourself clean sand or earth and rub wherewith your faces and your hands. The deity does not wish to place you in a difficulty, but to make you clean and to plead his favor unto you, and you may be grateful. Now I'm gonna tell you right here, the Quran is very fucked up. You know, this is not gonna be for kids, so don't worry about it. It's really fucked up how they would just add dirt. You don't clean yourself with dirt. I actually seen, let me see, clean sand or earth. You're gonna find some type of sand or dirt to wipe your faces and your hands. And look, and what does it say? You came from the offices of nature or contact with women, man. So listen, you done use the bathroom or you done had sex. And if you can't find water, what you gonna use? You're gonna use what? You can't find water. Then take yourself dirt. This is what they teach you in the Quran. Now, if they would, only thing they need to do is just take off this part right here and just add. Make sure to use water. You know what I'm saying? Don't just tell them motherfucker to. All right, let's continue. Black faces go to hell, white faces go to heaven. Okay. On the day of judgment, God was told who did the lies against. Let me read this. On the day of judgment, wilt thou see those who have told lies against the deity? Their faces will be turned black. There is not in hell an abode for the haughty. Yeah, so it's talking about them going to hell with the faces black. On the day when some faces turn white and some faces turn black, and to those whose faces turn black, did you disbelieve after disbelieving? Taste therefore your chastisement because you disbelieve. And as to those whose faces are white, they shall be in the deity's mercy. In it, they shall abide. So the white faces will be in the mercy of the Quran, God. But let me tell you, it's not really European white people. And that's what I want to actually give you a little bit more context to this. Let's go here. He loves the Arabs, the desert Arabs. Let's continue. This right here. But on some of the desert Arabs believe in the deity in the last day. This is the Quran. They tell you the chapter and verse. And look on their payments as pious gifts, bringing them nearer to the deity and obtaining the prayer of the messenger. Indeed, they bring them nearer to him. Soon the deity admits to them his mercy, for the deity is oft forgiving, merciful. So he talks about the desert Arabs right here. This is who he's forgiving, merciful, and who all this good stuff. But look, it's not talking about European ones. Look, on the day when the trumpet shall be blown, we will gather the guilty, blue-eyed, on that day. The ones with that trait, that genetic trait that the Arabs don't have. Let's continue. Okay, all these right here say anything other than Islam would not be accepted. Now, the only problem with that is all of these right here say ways of life other than Islam will be accepted. So I'm going to show you 3 that says that you won't be accepted if you're not a Muslim. Now we'll show you 3 that says you will be accepted if you're not a Muslim. I think I'll just do one of each. I don't, you guys can pause it and see this. Surely you and what you worship beside a deity are firewood of hell. To it you shall come. Oh, you believe, be careful to the deity with the care which due to him, and do not die unless you're a Muslim. Whoso seeketh other religion other than the surrender to the deity, it will not be accepted from him, and he will be a loser in the hereafter. So they said, if you don't submit to that God, you'll be a loser in the hereafter. But what? Those who believe, those who follow the Jewish scripture and Christians say, who believe in the deity in the last day and work righteousness shall have their reward. And on them it shall be no fear, and there shall be, oh, look, all these people. Those who believe in the Quran, those who follow Jewish scriptures, and say, any who believe in the deity in the last day and work righteousness, and them shall have no fear, nor should they grieve. Now, I want to say any who believe in the deity, ALLAH, that just means G-O-D. That's what that word, the, and la, the God. So really, they're just saying God. And that's one thing bad about that name anyway, because it's not a name. A name, that is a title. God is a title. Allah, that's not a name. So their God doesn't have a name either. You say it in Arabic, it just means the God. You know what I mean? So what God are you talking about? Because different gods have different names. But we know what false deity that is. I wanted to just give all praises to the mighty Yahweh, and I just did not want Islam to get a pass or to get a rest. Sometimes I think the Almighty inspired me. I don't know. But someone needs to hear this. All praises to the mighty Yahweh.